Alrighty, welcome. Another episode of Bet the Beach Live. My name is Chris Turk. Glad you could hang out. It is June 19th, 2024. I just got back from a couple of days up at Moosehead Lake up in Greenville, Maine, way up there, about 5.5 hours from where we sit here tonight. Just got back this afternoon, so if I look a little suntan, look a little sleepy, if this episode goes a little short, yeah, still on island time at the moment. Anyways, glad you could join us. Quick show for you today. Want to get you updated on a couple of quick things. Want to clean up some final notes on the Miles Evans, Trevor Crabb Instagram beef. The comment section was popping after the episode last week, and a lot of activity. AVP picked it up, so a little bit left to dissect there. We had our CEV, the European Continental Finals. So we have two additional teams that are granted a spot, or at least federations granted a spot into the 2024 Olympics. So we will touch on that. The NORCECA, the Continental Final for North America, starts here 2 days from now, June 21st, in Tlaxcala, Mexico, in the bull ring. So I'll get to the entry list for the men's and the women's there. We'll talk about favorites, upsets, all that kind of stuff. And then the first of a two-part Olympic interview. Does a great job on Instagram, so I got to shout him out. Tape.media. He's been firmly entrenched in that Chase Budinger, Miles Evans camp, and we saw some good stuff out of him. And the Olympic interview part one came out a couple days ago. Chase Budinger and Miles Evans talking about becoming United States Olympians in the sport of beach volleyball. So we'll get you a look at that as well. And also, and finally, and not to be overlooked, if you follow along in the blog, www.betthebeach.com, or of course you can go to any of the socials, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. I get better at that hand thing. You can find links in bio, get you to that blog. This week, did a little deeper dive mathematically into beach volleyball gambling. We got some data now. We have over, I think it's like 67, 68 bets made so far over the course of the last 4 to 6 weeks in the 5 tournaments I've gambled on. Excuse the drip, by the way. It did rain here a little bit this evening. Greatly welcomed rain because it was about 97 degrees here earlier, and it was very, very, very hot here at the Tiki Bar. I know. Tiny violins for yours truly sitting at the Tiki Bar with the beautiful backdrop as I got there. But anyways, let us start with the NORCECA Continental Qualifier starting June 21st in Tlaxcala, Mexico. And let's take a look at the teams for the men's and the women's competing for that final continental spot, or I guess one of the final spots for the men's and the women's. For the women, Sarah Pavin and Molly McBain not on the list. Heather Bansley and Sophie Bukovic. The way the NORCECA works now, the new system, you only send one team to play in the tournament. That team gets to be chosen by your federation. The federation in Canada chooses it based on who has played the best over the previous 8 weeks. So Heather Bansley and Sophie Bukovic get that opportunity to go fight for their country, and they would be, I would say, a pretty decent favorite as far as this list goes. You also have a really good team there from Mexico, Gutierrez and Torres. We've seen them in challenge events and a few Elite 16s over the course of this continental, or course of the last Olympic quad, the last 16 months. And other ones on there that you need to be looking for, Puerto Rico, Navas and Gonzalez. Those are probably your top 3 teams as far as odds to win this Olympic qualification tournament and win themselves a bid to Paris starting here in about 5 weeks away now. On the men's side, we'll take a look. Sam Schachter and Dan Deering, also of Canada. They are probably a pretty good favorites on the men's side. The Mexican team there, Galindo and Virgin, very good team there. They have an opportunity to win this whole thing. And I'll be interested to see that U.S. Virgin Islands team, Bryce Mayer, Tyler Penberthy, Bet the Beach follower. So shout out there, Tyler. Appreciate you. Go win this thing for the United States Virgin Islands. Rooting for you, bud. So that's your NORCECA qualification tournament specifics. Yeah, I would say favorites there are probably Canada if I'm a betting man, but I'm rooting for my guy, Tyler Penberthy, Bet the Beach follower. Find me. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all the stuff. Appreciate you. Also, give me a like and subscribe too on YouTube, if you will. I would certainly appreciate that. I did mention that the European Continental Finals concluded last weekend. France on the men's side won the Continental Final, which is significant because on the women's side, France earned a bid via points, Placette and Richard for the women of France, and they get their wild card due to hosting the game. So the women had two. The men were only going to have one, and it was going to be that wild card. They didn't qualify any teams via points, but that Continental CEV Championship this past weekend grants France that second spot. So France will have 4 teams, 2 men's, 2 women's, representing them in their host country in Paris, just at the foot of the Eiffel Tower here, come 4 weeks from now. That is it as far as qualification news goes. The rest of the qualifiers happening over the course of the next 10 days or so. The Asian tournament happening, the South American tournament happening, and the African tournament happening. So by the time we next meet, we may have a much better idea of exactly who will be in and who will be out for the Olympics. One thing I did want to give you, we do have the entry list for Stade. We're now 28 days out from Stade. And I won't go through them all because we'll do odds and picks like we always do. But I do want to give you just a little peek here. Somebody whose name you might recognize on the qualifier list for the Volleyball World Beach Pro Tour event in Stade. The number 4 in the qualifier, April Ross and Alex Kleiman, back out in the World Tour. They teased it in their Sandcast episode last week. Shout out Travis. Shout out Try. Good stuff, as always, getting the scoop there. April and Alex were going for a wild card for Stade. They get the wild card. It may be the last time you see those two teams or those two individuals play on the international stage. I know we'll see a lot more of them on the AVP this season. But April and Alex headed out to what is one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic, beach volleyball tournament. Longest-running international beach volleyball tournament in the world is the Stade, Switzerland Elite 16 coming up here July 3rd through the 7th, and April Ross and Alex Kleiman are right there on your entry list, so that'll be pretty cool to see them back out there. I did tease it, so let's get to it. It does an awesome job on Instagram. The account is tape.media. Tape.media doing awesome stuff, giving you sideline access to the beach volleyball tour. And Chase Budinger and Miles Evans clinching the Olympic berth. They are Olympians. They will be representing the country in Paris. And Tape.media putting together part 1 of a 2-part series. This first one, the Olympic interview part 1 with Chase and Miles. Take a listen.
Is to make the Olympics.
This has always been a dream of mine to qualify for the Olympics. Ever since I was young, I always told my friends that I wanted to become a professional beach volleyball in high school. And just through time, seeing all the Olympians, how good they were, how much respect that they get, I always wanted that for myself. I didn't actually think that it was possible, but through hard work and time and having the right partner, it's been an awesome grind.
I think I reached out to him and just pretty much asked him. I was like,
hey, do you want to go for an Olympic run?
We did sit down and talk about it. I mean, you could tell that his excitement and his energy and how badly that he wanted it, how badly he wanted to work.
And I was super fired up to get that text because that was also a big dream of mine. I always thought he was a super good potential partner. I was really excited to get that text. Winning that NORCECA qualifier was really big. I was telling my whole family a week before that event, this could be the deciding factor whether or not we go to the Olympics.
And it was a really hard-fought battle. It was super windy that day. It was cold. There wasn't many fans there, but
we brought it. It was a crazy match. It was super back and forth.
The fans that were there were cheering really hard for either side, and we snuck out a win, 15-13, and some crazy plays.
We just knew how much it meant, and when we won, we were so fired up. Remember watching Todd?
That's just a little preview there. Head to Instagram, tape.media. I'll shout him out one more time. Tape.media on Instagram. Doing a great job with the boys, new Olympians, Chase Budinger and Miles Evans, headed to Paris. We'll see a lot more content, I believe, coming out of Tape Media. Seems to be firmly entrenched in that Chase Budinger, Miles Evans camp. So it'll be good stuff to see as we approach the Paris Elite 16. Talking about schedule, just want to get you an update on where we stand in the schedule. It is a brief hiatus in both the international and the domestic tour as everybody starts to line up and take a look at the upcoming rest of the calendar. That Elite 16, I almost said Elite 16 in Stade. It's a hard thing to say there. Elite 16 in Stade comes up this July 3rd through the 7th, so we're a couple weekends away from that. Then we got an AVP contender the same weekend in Denver, Colorado. Great volleyball town out there in Denver. Elite 16 the following weekend, the 10th through the 14th in Vienna, lining up again with a contender event on the AVP in Wapaka, the boat race. That's the 11th and the 12th in July. And then, of course, the Paris Olympics starting July 27th through August 10th. I think the opening ceremony is on a Friday night, the 26th, and then beach volleyball pool play gets started right away that next morning, July 27th. And we'll have that all covered for you right here on Bet the Beach. Lastly, tonight, I want to take a look. I shouldn't say lastly, because there's one more thing I want to do. Follow up on the Miles Evans, Trevor Crabb Instagram beef. If you go to the comments section from which I pulled that original battle, you'll find King Crab 808 in the comments battling with, it looks like Miles Evans' roommate, going back and forth with him for a while. So Trevor staying salty, and you got to love that about him. He's still, I'm sure, bummed out about how the Olympic race went for him and Theo Brunner. Yeah, so got a lot of good reaction to that. I thank everybody on TikTok. It was a really big moment for Bet the Beach on TikTok, on Instagram, and on YouTube. Some of the best, most views I've gotten on a YouTube was last week, digging into that battle between Trevor and Miles. You're a bunch of sickos. That's what you tune in for. I see what's going on here. Okay. All right. I get it. No problem. Finally, as I just said, check out the blog, betthebeach.com. This week I took an opportunity without any volleyball happening to just tinker around a little bit with my gambling. And my beautiful wife, Lindsay, as I said in the blog, is an accountant, so she's an Excel expert. So I came to her with a couple of equations, and I wanted to see how I could plug these equations in to really get an idea of the rate of return that I can expect long-term on multiple bets, given a expected win percentage, and given the odds of a bet. And the reason I did this was because I'm now like 68 bets in. We'll see that in a couple of images here. I'm over 60 bets in, and I said many times I'm still in data collection mode. So every bet that I make, I track it. I track the odds. I track a hit. I track a miss. What kind of bet? Blah, blah, blah. All the details on it. Why am I doing that? If I can have confidence over a long amount of time that I'm going to hit between 60 and 65, or 65 and 70, or 75 and 80, or whatever the number ends up being, been pretty good the last few tournaments, but small sample size, then all I really need to know is what odds to choose that are going to pay out money, right? So right here you see that red line right there, that's a negative rate of return. And as I said in the blog this week, if you're in the red, that means you run out of money. It means you have to stop gambling. And where's the fun in that? It's called Bet the Beach, so we're going to have to keep gambling. So we got to stay above that red line. I arbitrarily here chose anything over a rate of return of 100%, so you get the money back you put in. Anywhere between that and 15% rate of return, I chose yellow. And my idea there was this is the caution zone. Well, I would, technically it's a favorable result because I am getting back more money than I'm putting in. I'm slowly chipping away and making a little bit of money. And I said it in the blog this week, and I'll say it again here. I treat the sports books like, as the saying goes, a wolf in sheep's clothes. What do I mean by that? They seem like this big friendly entity that wants to get you to have fun and engage with you and sends you notifications and gives you bonuses and bets and all that. Well, there's a reason why Vegas looks so nice. The house always wins. Everybody knows that saying. I don't want to mess around gaining 1%, 2%, 3% per tournament because eventually I know the house is always going to win. What I'd like to do is I'd like to secure a regular viable rate of return between 15 and 40%, and that's what you see this green region right here. Let's zoom in here for a minute, and let me give you an example. Let's say I knew that I hit at exactly 67.5% over the course of thousands of bets. I know that's how good I am at picking bets. Well, if I go to the odds of minus 125, so the average of all odds of all my bets is minus 125, I'm going to return 121.5% on my investment. And that obviously varies win percentage and your odds. The reason I did this was because I was taking bets and I could see minus 200, minus 250. And I know it's not a good number, but I didn't know how good or how bad of a number that minus 250 is. If I'm hitting at 67% here, let's go to 62.5%. If I'm hitting at 62.5% and I'm taking it on average odds of minus 175, I've crossed over into that red. I'm at that 98.2 rate of return. It's bad news. It's not sustainable long term. I got to stay in the yellow. I got to stay in the green. I'd love to get into the blue. So then what did I do? I took a look at my last 5 tournaments. What did I do in those 5 tournaments? Win percentage, average odds, Tepic Elite 16, Jamen Challenge, Brasilia, Espino, Ostrava Elite 16. And I plotted them. This is where I landed after 5 tournaments of gambling. One event, the Jamen Challenge, I was in a negative rate of return position. And that tournament did not go well. If you recall correctly, Jamen Challenge, I only made 5 bets. I won 3 of them, but average odds were minus 171. That's when I was high on those set spread dogs. Set spread dogs are tough because they're going to give you those big minus odds. That one was a mistake. I was too focused on the type of bet and not how I liked to bet. That Jamen Challenge didn't go well, and you can see it here. It puts me in that red negative position there. Above that rate of return line that you don't want to be. I did have 2 bets, or 2 tournaments, I should say, the Tepic Elite 16, the Brasilia Elite 16, where I was in that yellow region, and then my most 2 recent ones, Ostrava and Espino. I am very, very solidly in a blue position as far as rate of return goes on my bets for those 2 tournaments. Hoping to continue that trend, but at least now I have a little more information. I think for the time being, I think I'm about 68% overall on all of my bets, 68.6666%. So if I take a look at the chart and I follow that down, that's going to tell me I'm going to want to be, to get into the green, I'm going to want to be playing around at minus 110 and better. That's basically my line from now on. Does it mean that I'm not going to go underneath that occasionally? No, but it gives me a pretty good idea of roughly where I need to be to make those bets, to win those bets, and to keep gambling, because that's the fun part. It is called Bet the Beach. Anyways, like I said, quick show today. I'm not going to bore you with all this stuff. It's a lot of math in there. This is up on the blog. If you want to take a closer, quicker, or longer-term look at it, feel free to ask me questions, shoot me a chat, DM me, follow in on the comments here, however you want to get a hold of me. betthebeach@gmail.com. Any questions on the gambling formula. And Stadt's coming up, so we can do some more gambling, win some more money. Love to see you out there. Anyways, talk to you next week. Thanks, guys.